Jai Radha Madhava Jai Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Jai Kunja Bihari Jai Gopi Janavallabha Jai Girivardhari Jai Radha Madhava Jai Kunja Bihari Yashodhanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodhanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tiravana Chari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai Go Premanande Hari Hari Bol. All glories to assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Tadati Swapadantikam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radhakanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Brinavaneshwari Vrishabhanusate Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindhubhya cha Patitanam Pavinebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So I thought of speaking from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, continuing with the idea of Gopurnim and going on to Rath Yatra, because April is our Rath Yatra normally, and I'm not sure what's the story for this year, but if we don't have it, we are going to miss Rath Yatra, right? So therefore, I thought that we should speak on the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dancing at Rath Yatra. So we'll skip the Bengali, we'll just read the English translations of this 13th chapter of the Madhya Leela, Chaitanya Charitamrita. So let's begin. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Brinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Brinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Brinda. Text 1. May the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Chaitanya, Krishna Chaitanya, who danced, excuse me, who danced in front of the car of Sri Jagannath, be all glorified. By seeing his dancing, not only was the whole universe held in wonder, but Lord Jagannath himself became very much astonished. All glories Shri Krishna Chaitanya and Prabhu Nityananda. All glories to Advaita Chandra and all glories to the devotees of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All glories to the listeners of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Please hear the descriptions of the dancing of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at the Rath Yatra festival. His dancing is very enchanting. Please hear of it with great attention. The next day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the personal associates got up in the dark and attentively took their early morning baths. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his personal associates then went to see the ceremony of Pandu Vijaya. During the ceremony, Lord Jagannath leaves his throne and gets up onto the car. So this festival where the Lord is getting up onto his car is called Pandu Vijaya festival. So we'll read the description of this festival just now. King Pachapurutra in person as well as his entourage allowed the Pandu Vijaya ceremony to be seen by all the associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his prominent devotees, Sri Advaita, Nityananda Prabhu and others, were very happy to observe how Lord Jagannath began the Rath Yatra. The very strongly built deities, carriers of the Jagannath deity, were as powerful as drunken elephants. They manually carried Lord Jagannath from the throne to the car. While carrying the deity of Lord Jagannath, some of the deities took hold of the shoulders of the Lord and some caught his lotus feet. The Lord Jagannath deity was bound at the waist by a strong, thick rope made of silk. From two sides, the deities cut hold of this rope and raised the deity. Strong, puffed up cotton pads called tulis were spread out from the throne to the car, and the heavy deity of Lord Jagannath was carried from one pillow-like pad to the next by the deities. While the deities carried the heavy Jagannath deity from one pad to the next, some of the pads broke and the cotton content floated into the air. When they broke, they made a heavy cracking sound. Lord Jagannath is the maintainer of the whole universe. Who can carry him from one place to another? The Lord moves by his personal will just to perform his pastimes. While the Lord was transported from the throne to the car, tumultuous sounds were made on various musical instruments. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was chanting, Manima, Manima, but he could not be heard. While the Lord was being carried from the throne to the car, Queen Prataparudra personally engaged in the Lord's service by cleansing the road with a broom that had a golden handle. The king sprinkled the road with sandalwood-scented water. Although he was the owner of the royal throne, he engaged in menial service for the sake of Lord Jagannath. Although the king was a most exalted, respectable person, still he accepted menial service for the Lord. He therefore became a suitable candidate for receiving the Lord's mercy. Upon seeing the king engaged in such menial service, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became very happy. Simply by rendering the service, the king received the mercy of the Lord. So I just want to read the purport of this text and see what Prabhupada has to say here. Unless one receives the mercy of the Lord, he cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead or engage in his devotional service. Prabhupada quotes Bhagavatam 10:14-29, the verse, a devotee who has received even a small fraction of the mercy of the Lord can understand him. Others may engage in theoretical speculation to understand the Lord, but they cannot know anything about him. Although Maharaj Parudra was very eager to see Sri Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Lord refused to see him. But when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw the king engaged in menial service for Lord Jagannath, he became very happy. Thus, the king became eligible to receive Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy. If a devotee accepts Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the universal guru and Lord Jagannath as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, he is benefited by the combined mercy of Krishna and Guru. That is stated in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That is stated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his instructions to Rupa Goswami in Madhya Leela 19:151. Brahmanda Brahmite Kaun Bhagavanji Guru Krishna Prasad Paya Bhakti Lata Bij. The seed of devotional service fructifies and becomes a transcendental creeper. Finally, it reaches the lotus feet of the Lord in the spiritual sky. This seed is obtained by the mercy of the Lord and the Guru. By the Lord's mercy, one can get the association of a bona fide Guru, and by the mercy of the Guru, one gets a chance to render devotional service. Devotional service, the science of Bhakti Yoga, carries one from this material world to the spiritual world. So, dear devotees, this verse is very instructive for us in that we see by the example of King Prachaparudra, how he took up the broom to sweep the road where the cart was being pulled on. And this is a menial task, right? But this just as one devotional service from the king, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became so merciful towards him. So when one of a high-ranking position does a menial service for the Lord becomes very pleased and he gives you his mercy. So see here how Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave King Prachaparudra his mercy, and when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was dancing in the Rath Yatra, then it was basically Prachaparudra Maharaj could see him dancing in all the parties. There were four divisions, four kirtan parties, and we see how King Prachaparudra, he was able to see all the parties that the Lord were dancing simultaneously in all these kirtan parties. So let's carry on. Text 19. Everyone was astonished to see the decorations of the Rath Yatra car. The car appeared to be newly made of gold, and it was as high as Mount Sumeru. The decorations included bright mirrors and hundreds of chamaras, white whisks made of yak tail. On top of the car were a neat and clean canopy and a very beautiful flag. The car was also decorated with silken cloth and various pictures. Many brass bells, gongs, and ankle bells rang. From the pastime of the Rath Yatra ceremony, Lord Jagannath got aboard one car, and his sister Subhadra and elder brother Balaram got aboard two other cars. So this reminds us our Rath Yatra, right? Where we have three chariots, and when the Lord goes onto the chariot, when he takes his seat there, and how all the devotees are leading ecstatic kirtans, and some are paying obeisances, and it's such a festive mood, right, at the Rath Yatras in Durban on the beachfront. For 15 days, the Lord had remained in a secluded place with the Supreme Goddess of Fortune and had performed his pastimes with her. Having taken permission from the Goddess of Fortune, the Lord came out to ride on the Rath cart and perform his pastimes for the pleasure of the devotees. The fine white sand spread all over the path resembled the bank of the Jamuna, and the small gardens on both sides looked just like those in Vrindavan. As Lord Jagannath rode his car and saw the beauty of both sides, his mind was filled with pleasure. The pullers of the cars was known as Godas, and they pulled with great pleasure, having the car sometimes, however, the car sometimes went very fast and sometimes very slow. Sometimes the car would stand still and not move, even though it was pulled very vigorously. The chariot therefore moved by the will of the Lord, not by the strength of ordinary persons. As the car stood still, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gathered all the devotees and with his own hands decorated them with flower garlands and sandalwood pulp. Brahmananda Puri and Paramananda Puri and Brahmananda Bharati were both personally given garlands and sandalwood pulp from the very hands of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This increased their transcendental pleasure. Similarly, when Advaita Acharya and Nityananda Prabhu felt the touch of the transcendental hands of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they were very pleased. The Lord also gave garlands and sandalwood pulp to the various performances of Sankirtan, and the two chief performers were Swarup Damodar and Srivas Pandit. There were altogether 4 parties of Kirtan, performers comprising of 24 chanters. In each party, there were also 2 Mirdanga players, making an additional 8 persons. When the 4 parties were formed, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after some consideration, divided the chanters. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ordered Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita Acharya, Haridas Thakur, and Vakreshwar Pandit to dance in each of the 4 respective parties. Swarup Damodar was chosen as the leader of the first party and was given 5 assistants to respond to his chanting. Now, dear devotees, with our Rath Yatra, we have for the 3 carts, and with the 3 carts, there's 3 kirtaniers, right? It's either, Karamakanand Swami, or it's Bhakti Chaitanya Swami, or whichever guru is present, maybe Lokanath Swami, maybe Indradumna Swami, right? And with them, we don't only have 5 chanters, we have like the whole crowd of people, right? And there's like hundreds, maybe 200 people at each cart, basically, or more, right? And we are all chanting, and not even we also have loudspeakers, right? So the whole Rath Yatra parade is like so elaborate. So yes, the holy name can be heard for a distance. The 5 who responded to the singing of Swarup Damodar with Damodar Narayana, Govinda Datta, Raghava Pandit, and Sri Govindanandana. Sri Advaita Acharya Prabhu was ordered to dance in the first group. The Lord then formed another group with Srivas Thakur and his chief men. The 5 singers who responded to the singing of Srivas Thakur were Gangadas, Haridas, Sriman Subhananda, and Sri Rama Pandit. Sri Nityananda Prabhu was appointed as a dancer. So for each party, the Sankirtan party or Harinam party, there was a dancer, and there were 5 singers, 5 who gave chorus, and 1 lead singer, right? So compare this to our Rath Yatra. We have like the girls dancing in front, and girls and boys dancing in front of each cart. And not just 5 or 10, but many devotees come in to participate, right? From basically all around the world at Durban's Rath Yatra. So we're quite blessed. Another 2 persons, Shrikanta and Vallabha Sen, joined as responsive singers. In this group, the senior Haridas Thakur was the dancer. The Lord formed another group appointing Govinda Ghosh as leader. In his group, the younger Haridas, Vishnudas, and Raghava were the responding singers. 2 brothers named Madhav Ghosh and Vasudev Ghosh had also joined this group and responsive singers. Prakreshwar Pandit was the dancer. Now, if you know anything about Prakreshwar Pandit, he could dance for 72 hours straight. That's how ecstatic he used to be in Harinam, that he will dance straight 72 hours. There was a Sankirtan party from village known as Kulinagram, and Ramananda Rai and Satyaraj were appointed the dancers in this group. There was another party that came from Shantipur and was formed by Advaita Acharya. Achyutananda was a dancer, and the rest of the men were singers. Another party was formed by the people of Khanda. These people were singing in a different place in that group. Narahari Prabhu and Raghunandana were dancing. 4 parties chanted and danced in front of the Lord Jagannath, and on either side was another party. Yet another was at the rear. There were altogether 7 parties of Sankirtan, and in each party 2 men were beating drums. Thus 14 drums were being played at once, and the sound was tumultuous, and all the devotees became mad. All the Vaishnavas came together like an assembly of clouds. As the devotees chanted the holy names in great ecstasy, tears fell from their eyes like rain. When the Sankirtan resounded, it filled the 3 worlds. Indeed, no one could hear any sound of musical instrument other than Sankirtan. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wandered through all the 7 groups, chanting the holy names, Hare, Hare. Raising his arms, he shouted, all glories to Lord Jagannath. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then exhibited another mystic power by performing pastimes simultaneously in all 7 groups. Another said, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is present in my group. Indeed, he does not go anywhere else. He is bestowing his mercy upon us. Actually, no one could see the inconceivable potency of the Lord. Only his most confidential devotees, those in pure unalloyed devotional service, could understand. Lord Jagannath was very much pleased by the Sankirtan, and he brought his car to a standstill just to see the performance. King Patraparutra was also astonished to see the Sankirtan. He became inactive and was converted to ecstatic love of Krishna. When the king informed Kashi Mishra of the glories of the Lord, Kashi Mishra replied, O king, your fortune has no limit. The king and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya were both aware of the Lord's activities, but no one could see the tricks of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Only a person who has received the mercy of the Lord can understand. Without the Lord's mercy, even the demigods headed by Lord Brahma cannot understand. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had been very satisfied to see the king accept the menial task of sweeping the street, and for this humility, the king received the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He could therefore observe the mystery of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's activities. So as I was speaking earlier, that Only by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or by the mercy of the Lord, can one understand the activities of the Lord. So Lord Chaitanya, being pleased by the menial service of the king, gave him his mercy, and therefore he could see Lord Chaitanya dancing in the 7 Sankirtan parties. Although the king had been refused an interview, he was indirectly bestowed causeless mercy. Who can understand the internal potency of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? When the 2 great personalities, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Kashi Mishra, saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's causeless mercy upon the king, they were astonished. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu performed his pastimes for some time in this way. He personally sang and danced he personally sang and induced his personal associates to dance. According to his need, the Lord sometimes exhibited one form and sometimes many. This was being executed by his internal potency. Indeed, the personality of Godhead, he forgot himself in the course of his transcendental pastimes, but his internal potency, Lila Shakti, knowing the intentions of the Lord, made all arrangements. Just as Lord Sri Krishna formally performed the Rasa Lila dance and other pastimes in Vrindavan, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu performed uncommon pastimes moment after moment. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's dancing before the Rath Yatra car could be perceived only by pure devotees. Others could not understand. Descriptions of Lord Krishna's uncommon dancing can be found in the revealed scripture, Srimad Bhagavatam. In this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced in great jubilation and inundated all the people with waves of ecstatic love. Thus, Lord Jagannath mounted his car, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu inspired all his devotees to dance in front of it. Now please hear about Lord Jagannath going to the Gundicha temple while Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced before the Rath Yatra car. The Lord performed kirtan for some time and through his own endeavors inspired all the devotees to dance. When the Lord himself wanted to dance, all 7 groups combined together. The Lord's devotees, including Srivas, Ramai, Raghu, Govinda, Mukunda, Haridas, Govindananda, Madhava, and Govinda all combined together. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu desired to jump high while dancing, he placed these 9 people in charge of Swarup Damodar. These devotees, Swarup Damodar and the devotees in his charge, sang along with the Lord, and they also ran beside him. All the other groups of men also sang. Offering obeisances to the Lord with folded hands, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu raised his face towards Jagannath and prayed as follows. So let's listen now to the prayers of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Lord Jagannath. Very beautiful prayers. Please hear with rapt attention. Text 77. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto Lord Krishna, who is the worshipable deity for all Brahmanical men, who is the well-wisher of the cows and the Brahmanas, and who is always benefiting the whole world. I offer my repeated obeisances to the Supreme Personality of Godhead known as Krishna and Govinda. All glories unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is text 78. Who is known as the son of Devaki. All glories to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is known as the light of the dynasty of Vrishni. All glories to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose bodily lustre is like that of a new cloud, and whose body is as soft as a lotus flower. All glories to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who appeared on this planet to deliver the world from the burden of demons and who can offer liberation to everyone. Text 79. Lord Shri Krishna is he who is known as Jananivas, the ultimate resort of all living entities, and who is also known as Devikinandana or Yashodanandan, and the son of Deviki and Yashoda. He is the guide of the Yadu dynasty, and with his mighty arms, he kills everything inauspicious, as well as every man who is impious. By his presence, he destroys all things inauspicious for all living entities, moving and inert. His blissful, smiling face always increases the lusty desires of the gopis of Vrindavan. May he be all glorious and happy. I am not a Brahmana, I am not a Kshatriya, I am not a Vaishya nor a Sudra. I am not a Brahmachari, a householder, a Vanaprast, or a sannyasi. I identify myself only as a servant of the servant of the servant of the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna, the maintainer of the gopis. He is like an ocean of nectar, and he is the cause of universal transcendental bliss. He is always existing with brilliance. Having recited all these verses from scripture, the Lord again offered his obeisances, and all the devotees with folded hands also offered prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced and jumped high, roaring like a thunder and moving in a circle like a wheel, he appeared like a circling firebrand. Just talk about the circling firebrand. We can understand this, when we during Diwali and we write those firebrands, what are they called? The sparkles, right? We write the sparkles, and the children, they turn them round and round and around it goes, and that's like a firebrand. You can only see like a ring of circle. So this is how Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's dancing is being described here, right? He appeared like a circling firebrand, yeah. Wherever Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stepped while dancing, the whole earth with its hills and seas appeared to toast. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced, he displayed various blissful transcendental changes in his body. Sometimes he appeared as though stunned. Sometimes the hairs of his body stood on end. Sometimes he perspired, cried, trembled, and changed color. And sometimes he exhibited symptoms of helplessness, pride, exuberance, and humility. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu fell down with a crash while dancing, he would roll on the ground. At such times it appeared that a golden mountain was rolling on the ground. Nityananda Prabhu would stretch out his two hands and try to catch the Lord when he was running here and there. Advaita Acharya would walk behind the Lord and loudly chant, Hari Bol, again and again. Just to check the crowds from coming too near the Lord, the devotees formed three circles. The first circle was guided by Nityananda Prabhu, who is Balaram himself, the possessor of great strength. All the devotees headed by Kashishwar and Govinda linked hands and formed a second circle around the Lord. Maharaj Patraparitra and his personal assistants formed a third circle around two inner circles, just to check the crowds from coming too near. With his hands on the shoulders of Hari Chandana, King Patraparitra could see Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dancing, and the king felt great ecstasy. While the king beheld the dancing, Srivas Thakur, standing in front of him, became ecstatic as he saw the dancing of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Dear devotees, let's pray as we are reading that one day we can witness this. We can witness the dancing of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Rath Yatra. When we go back to the spiritual world, go back, maybe most probably we'll first enter Navadvip before we go to Golok Vrindavan. So there we can watch the dancing of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Wouldn't this be exciting? So we should pray for that day to come where we'll come face to face with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and witness these beautiful pastimes. Text 93. Singh Srivas Thakur, standing before the king, Harichandan touched Srivas with his hand and requested him to step aside. Absorbed in watching Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dance, Srivas could not understand why he was being touched and pushed. After he was pushed again and again, he became angry. Srivas Thakur slapped Harichandan to stop him from pushing him. In turn, this made Harichandan angry. As the angered Harichandan was about to speak to Srivas Thakur, Patrapurudra Maharaj personally stopped him. King Patrapurudra said, "You are very fortunate, for you have been graced by the touch of Srivas Thakur. I am not so fortunate. You should feel obliged to him." Everyone was astonished by the dancing of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and even Lord Jagannath became extremely happy to see him. The car came to a complete standstill and remained immobile while Lord Jagannath, with unblinking eyes, watched the dancing of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we see here that Lord Jagannath, he doesn't have eyelids, right? And with his unblinking eyes, he watched the dancing of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he was completely ecstatic. And that's when actually the Rath Yatra cart came to a standstill, right? Because Lord Jagannath wanted to watch the dancing of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Text 100, the goddess of fortune, Subhadra, and Lord Balaram both felt great happiness and ecstasy within their hearts. Indeed, they were seen smiling at the dancing. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced and jumped high, 8 wonderful transformations indicative of divine ecstasy were seen in his body. All these symptoms were visible simultaneously. His skin erupted with goose pimples, and the hairs on his body stood on end. His body resembled the simuli silk cotton tree, all covered with thorns. Indeed, the people became afraid just to see his teeth chatter, and they even thought that his teeth would fall out. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's whole body flowed with perspiration and at the same time oozed blood. He made the sound Jaja Gaga in a voice choked with ecstasy. Tears came forcefully from the eyes of the Lord, and as if from a syringe, and all the people surrounding him became wet. Everyone saw the complexion of his body change from white to pink, so that his luster resembled that of a malika flower. Sometimes he appeared stunned, and sometimes he rolled on the ground. Indeed, sometimes his legs and hands became as hard and as dry wood, and he did not move. When the Lord fell to the ground sometimes, his breathing almost stopped. When the devotees saw this, their lives also became very feeble. Water flowed from his eyes and sometimes through his nostrils, and foam fell from his mouth. Those flowings appeared to be torrents of rain, of nectar descending from the moon. The foam that fell from the mouth of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was taken and drunk by Subhananda, because he was very fortunate and expert in relishing the mellow of ecstatic love of Krishna. After Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had performed the devastating dance, for some time his mind entered into the mood of ecstatic love. After abandoning the dancing, the Lord ordered Swarab Damodar to sing. Understanding his mind, Swarab Damodar began to sing as follows. Now I have gained the Lord of my life, in the absence of whom I was being burned by Cupid and was withering away. When this refrain was loudly sung by Swarab Damodar, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Mahaprabhu again began rhythmically dancing in transcendental bliss. The car of Lord Jagannath began to move slowly, while the son of Mother Sachi went ahead and danced in front. While dancing and singing, all the devotees in front of Lord Jagannath kept their eyes on him. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then went to the end of the procession with the Sankirtan performers. His eyes and mind fully absorbed in Lord Jagannath, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to play the drama of the song with his two arms. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was dramatically enacting the song, he would sometimes fall behind in the procession. At such times, Lord Jagannath would come to a standstill. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again went forward, Lord Jagannath's car would slowly start again. So we see, dear devotees, that there's a reciprocation between Lord Jagannath and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is in the mood of Radharani, and Lord Jagannath is Krishna. So in this way, we see there's a loving exchange between these two personalities. Let's continue reading, and we'll stop just now. Just need to text 119. Thus there was a sort of competition between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Jagannath in seeing who would lead. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so strong that he made Lord Jagannath wait in his car while Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was dancing in ecstasy. His ecstasy changed. Raising his two arms, he began to recite the verse in a loud voice. So I think we'll read this verse and we'll stop there. Right, so let's just read this verse, text 121. That very personality who stole away my heart during my youth is now again my master. These are the same moonlit nights of the month of Chaitra. The same fragrance of malati flowers is there, and the same sweet breezes are blowing from the Kadamba forest. In our intimate relationship, I am also the same lover, yet still my mind is not happy here. I'm eager to go back to that place on the bank of the river under the Vetasi tree. That is my desire. So there's a nice purport to this verse. Maybe, okay, I think it's, okay, sorry, not this verse, but in another verse, Prabhupada is writing that it's the same experience as when the devotees, the queens of Vrindavan, actually the queens of Dwarka, during the solar eclipse, they went to Kurukshetra, and the residents of Vrindavan went to Kurukshetra as well. And they, Radharani and the gopis, they saw Krishna. And this is the verse that they actually recited, that, although we're seeing the same Krishna, but it's not the same, because Krishna was in the mood of a king in Dwarka, and the mood wasn't right. So that's when they when they start to speak about Krishna's pastimes, and Krishna transformed into Jagannath, Balaram transformed into Baladev, and Subhadra. So with this huge eyes, and they with ecstatic feelings, their limbs withdrew like that, and that's when the gopis placed them on the chariot, and they were pulling them back to Vrindavan, right? So that's how we get Rath Yatra. That's how, when we perform Rath Yatra, we're actually pulling the Lord back to Vrindavan, back into our hearts. So we should think like this, and we should have this consciousness that yes, when I'm pulling the chariot of Lord Jagannath, I'm pulling him into my heart, so he can reside there. So, dear devotees, in order for the Lord to reside in our hearts, we have to make our hearts clean. And how do we do that? By the performance of devotional service, especially the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So I will end here, and thank you so much for this opportunity that you've given me to recite the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, dancing in ecstasy. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much.
If anyone would like to add to this, you're most welcome to do so. I'd really appreciate this.
Hare Krishna, Roger, Prabhu. Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to you. Thank you very much for wonderful class. I want to ask you if it's a meaning that there are 3 chariots in Ratha Yatra.
Yes.
Why 3, not 2, not 4?
Because it's for 3 personalities. One is for Jagannath, one is for Balaram, and one is for Subhadra. But we have a 4th chariot, which Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rides on, and he is in front of all of them. You know, he's in a dancing pose, and yeah, so that's the 4th chariot that we have on Rath Yatra, and he's huge. We have a very beautiful Lord Jagannath, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who accompanies the dancing of dancing before the Rath Yatra, before the chariots. So yes, it's very ecstatic as well. So yes, our Rath Yatra in Durban is one of the biggest in the world outside of India. India is the biggest. There's millions and millions of people. But here in Durban also, we have like thousands and thousands of devotees and thousands of people who attend our Rath Yatra. It's like one of the most blissful and most ecstatic Rath Yatras you've ever been to. I'm not saying this because I'm from South Africa. I'm just saying this because it's a truth. I've been to other Rath Yatras in India and different places as well. But our Rath Yatra is like, wow, it's one of the best. So I hope that answers your question, Kajita.
Thank you very much, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Paramatma Prabhu, would you like to throw some light on the Rath Yatra in Durban?
Amaji, I just have a question for you.
Yes.
In the Rath Yatra, there's a picture of a person, you know. I'm not sure who he is. There's a frame, you know, of one of the devotees. I heard he's one of the pioneers that started. Can you just clarify, Mataji, who that devotee is?
He's Prabhupada's disciple. I forget his name right now. Yes, but he was the one who, when Prabhupada went to America, and the first Rath Yatra that was held in San Francisco, he helped build the carts, you know, or the chariot of the Lord. So Jayananda Prabhu, yeah. So he died, he left his body early, whilst Prabhupada was still on the planet. I think he was one of the first disciples to leave his body. He was, I think he had cancer or something to that effect, you know, and he was a cab driver, you know, just to help Prabhupada maintain his temples. He was driving a cab, you know, and he was a very friendly person. And also he knew the philosophy, and, you know, he would preach to people. And whilst building the carts, you know, he would engage other people in building the Rath Yatra cart. Like if anyone would come and stand around him, like, you know, non-devotees, he would say, please, can you pass me the nail or the hammer, or can you knock this in? So like that. And one of the first persons or one of the big leaders now in our movement, His Holiness Jayapataka Swami was one of those people who stood there whilst Jayananda was, you know, building the cart, and he engaged him in some service. And that's how, you know, Jayapataka Swami became a devotee. And, he would give everyone prashadam, and he was, basically a very, Nanda Prabhu was very expert and, loving devotee as well. So, but it's so sad that his life was short-lived, but at least he engaged in, devotional service right up till the end of his life. Yeah, so therefore his picture is always on the Rath Yatra cards. Wherever you go in the world, you will find his picture on our Rath Yatra cards, because he was one of the pioneers of Rath Yatra.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Haribol. Anything else? Well, probably you say something about Rath Yatra. What service do you engage in at our Rath Yatra? Our Rath Yatra is so huge that we have 30 booths, engaging in different activities. So which booth are you in? Which tent are you on? Paramatma Prabhu?
Mataji, I was sometime back, I used to help in the gift shop, but recently I haven't been doing too much stuff. I just mostly with family, showing them around, and I just follow the cart. I haven't been seriously involved in any fixed services.
Oh, okay, that's good as well, because preaching is there, showing people around, and that's also preaching, making friends. That's very good. So
there's so much to see and do there. It's hard there to stay in one spot.
Exactly,
and the Kirtan is so wonderful,
Exactly, like most of the time you'll find me in the Kirtan tent, right? Dancing dancing away there. And also one of my first services was preaching at Rath Yatra, distribution of books. And also then as the years went on, I was involved in the Take Care of Krishna tent. And now I'm basically in the japa tent, with the stepping stones. And everybody comes, like new people especially, they come to chant one round of japa on the stepping stones, and they get a certificate at the end. It's so fulfilling just to see them, reciting the Maha Mantra. It's like so blissful. Yeah. And there's many other services where I try to gap in and do something here and something there. So, and oh yes, and one of my main service was bringing the children from Valbidat, the African kids, and engaging them at the Rath Yatra as well. So that kept me fully occupied as well. But so all these wonderful services at Rath Yatra is amazing.
I did hear that they can have a small one in Phoenix. That's what I heard from one Prabhu today.
What was that?
I heard from a Prabhu that they're planning a small Rath Yatra at the Phoenix temple.
Oh, okay, that's great. At least something. That'll be
that's
wonderful.
What I heard, but I don't know what plans are in place. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I heard there is some COVID restrictions also, which they're trying to adhere to.
Oh, okay. But now outdoors, I don't think a mask is required, because listening to the president's speech, he said that masks are not required outdoors. So I don't know.
Yes. But Mataji, don't forget when they're pulling the rope, a lot of people are touching the rope. You see.
Sorry.
The rope, when you're pulling the rope, it could be dangerous. Maybe everybody's not sanitizing their hands.
Yes.
Yeah, that can be an issue.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you so much again, Prabhu.
I just want to check, Roger, what Prabhu, are you there? We haven't heard you today.
Oh, I'm quiet as usual, Prabhu.
Is everything okay? Did you digest all the information? Mataji spoke about so much of things.
That was very, very interesting. But once again, it's a lot. It's a lot to think
too much,
about.
Yeah. Mataji, do you mind if I ask?
It's not too much. It's nice.
It's nice. Mataji, I just got a quick question for you, Mataji. You know, you mentioned
Yes.
the gopis took, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda. You said the limbs went in. Could you just mention that again? What happened in that pastime? You said from
Yes,
there they came on the cart and then they went to Vrindavan. I didn't really understand that part.
yes. So whilst the gopis were talking about the pastimes that Krishna had in Vrindavan, so you must understand that Krishna is now living in Dwaraka, right? And he's living with the
Yes.
queen. He's living with his 16,108 queens, and it's different. It's a different mood
Yes.
from Dwaraka and Vrindavan. So when they went to this Kurukshetra during the solar eclipse, the residents of Vrindavan also went there. And then they were talking about the pastimes in Vrindavan, of Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. Right? So someone was placed at the door to, I think Subhadra was placed at the door to see that nobody, that Krishna doesn't come near whilst he's being glorified. It so happened that Krishna came there and he overheard the gopis talking. And when he overheard the gopis talking, then he started feeling ecstatic symptoms because he was feeling so much of separation from the gopis that even whilst he's laying on the bed of the queens, at night, he would call out the gopis' names, Radharani, and basically all these, Lalita, Vishaka. He would call out these names of the gopis, right? Ranga Devi, Devi, Champakalata, the Astasakis. He would call out their names, and the queens used to wonder, like, what is he talking about? And then they realized that he is missing Vrindavan. He's missing home basically, and Vrindavan is his home. So therefore, he would call out the names of these gopis, because one must remember that the gopis' love for Krishna is the most exalted. No one can love Krishna better than the gopis of Vrindavan. They have the highest love for Krishna. So similarly, Krishna also, he was experiencing vipralamba. He was experiencing separation from them. So in this mood as Jagannath, he actually feels separation from the gopis of Vrindavan. So, whoever has Jagannath deities, it's not Lord Krishna there. He's in a very ecstatic mood of separation. And we see that in this mood of separation, he basically, his limbs withdraw within his body. His limbs withdraw, and his legs go in, his hands go in, and that's how his eyes becomes wide. That's how we get this form of Lord Jagannath, Krishna as Lord Jagannath. Okay.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
There was another pastime about a person carving a piece of wood. Is that another pastime?
Yes, that's another pastime of Lord Jagannath, and how he, that's another pastime where this form, Lord Krishna was in this form of Nila Madhava, and he was worshipped by the Shabara king. This Shabara king is actually king of the people who raise pigs. Now that's a very like a low class sort of job, or to actually do is raise pigs, right? It's very low. So it so happened that Nilamadhava, it's a big pastime, but he transformed into Lord Jagannath, right? Where he disappeared, and he told the king that King Indradumna, actually, that you go to the river, to the and to the sea, and there you will find 3 pieces of log. You take that log and you carve deities off this log. So they got a very expert craftsman, and when they found these logs, they took the logs and they started to carve. And the craftsman told the king that I'm locking this door and you shouldn't open it. I'm going to carve these deities and you should not open these doors, until I'm finished, then I will reveal. So day and night, the king in the Dumna, he would, pace up and down, just waiting for these deities to be carved. Eventually, he did not hear the chiseling of the wood, and he broke open the door and wide open, and there were these 3 deities sitting there, like it was like unfinished, but it was not unfinished, it was finished, because these were the forms of Lord Jagannath. And then the king got people to paint the deities and so on and so forth. And in that way, the Lord instructed the king in his dream that he should build a cart and, take him on procession and build a temple for him. So then this is how, that's a story of, that's another story of how Lord Jagannath appeared. So, yeah, thank you for reminding me of that. But it's another long story, and I just shortened it, just to give you the gist of this pastime.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, thank you so much. Accept my humble obeisance, all glories to Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Vanchakalpa Tirubhaischa Kripasindhibhyavicha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.